Welcome to our presentation on neoclassical physics. Here we explain all physical phenomena, including quantum and relativistic processes, in classical terms, with a little modification. This is the closest thing to the grand unified theory as of now. Neophysics has the most accurate theories of physics. We challenge you to disprove us. If not, we welcome you to join us in the revolution. In this presentation, we discuss the Sagnac effect, which is considered a key example of relativity, with explanations from both special and general relativity. Practically, that effect is used in the aircraft inertial guidance systems as fiber optic gyros or ring laser gyros. In most experiments which are claimed to be supporting special relativity, the corpuscular theory is either not considered at all or a wrong Strawman theory is proved wrong. Even in Sagnac effect, the correct corpuscular theory was never considered. Here we show that we can explain Sagnac's observation using corpuscular theory. In the original experiment, Sagnac had used plane mirrors. He had arranged the mirrors, the four mirrors M1, M2, M3 and M4, and the beam splitter J, and the source of light C0 on a rotatable platform. He captured the interference pattern on the screen P prime when the platform was at rest and when the platform was rotated at different speeds in both clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. He found a certain regular shift in the interference pattern due to rotation, and he explained it using a form of ether theory, which is not viable when applied to other experiments like the Michelson-Morley experiment. Paul Langevin, while explaining Sagnac effect, considered an abstract, highly simplified circular light path and made an argument for relativistic explanation. Neither Sagnac nor Langevin presented detailed calculation of the actual reflections in their discussions. Before further discussion, let us briefly recap how light reflects from a moving mirror according to the corpuscular theory of light, which basically is just follows the elastic collisions. In case of reflection from a mirror moving in a direction parallel to the direction of the normal to the mirror surface, this line is the normal to the mirror surface, the speed and angle after reflection are given by this. The C prime becomes square root of this term here, C cos theta minus 2E and C sin theta. If V is much less than C, where C is the speed of light, then C prime nearly becomes C minus 2E cos theta. That is, this is the incident ray and this is the reflected ray. So the reflected ray velocity will be different from C. And the reflected ray angle will also be different, given by tan theta prime equals C sin theta by C cos theta minus 2E. However, in case of reflection from a mirror moving in a direction perpendicular to the direction of the normal to the mirror surface, we see no such changes in speed or the angle after reflection. The speed and angle remain the same as that it was before reflection. That is, the incident ray, if it is coming at with velocity c and at an angle theta, then the reflected ray will also go back at velocity c and angle theta. We use a circular mirror setup as shown by the curved black line in this figure. With circular mirror, the movement of the mirror is never parallel to the normal direction of the mirror surface. That is, when this circular mirror rotates, it's always tangential. The movement of the mirror is always tangential to the mirror surface. It never has a radial component, and it does not affect the velocity of the incident light. This also reduces the complex calculation complexity when we consider corpuscular theory. When the source mirror screen setup is not rotating or at rest, the paths of the two tracks are A, B, C, D and back to A, and A, D, C, B and back to A, shown by this blue square here. The two paths coincide with each other. Therefore, there will be no phase difference between the two paths, since they traverse the same length with the same speed c, or which is the speed of light. The incident ray meets the beam splitter at point A here, and the beam splitter can be described by this line OE, where O is the center of the circular mirror, and R is the radius of the mirror, and S is the source of light. The beam splitter and the source of light are assumed to be very close to each other. That is, this length SA is nearly 0. So at any point in time, there will be no relative motion between the source and the beam splitter. The source splitter system nevertheless are rotating together as seen from a rest frame. So the 4 points where the light meets the mirror A, B, C, D in the non-rotating case is shown here. These are the coordinates, and the coordinates of the points O, which is the center of the system, and E, which is the one of the edges of the beam splitter, is described by these here, O and E. Since the splitter is set at 45 degree to the direction of the incident light, in the frame at rest with respect to the splitter, the light appears to move at 90 degrees to each other after splitting. That is, one goes in the direction AB and one goes in the direction AD, according to the beam splitter frame. However, when the system is rotating and we see this from a frame at rest, then the horizontal ray AB gets modified as ray AB1 due to velocity of rotation V equals R omega. So the velocity along this line AB1 becomes V1. V1 will be nearly equal to C plus V by root 2. And the angle formed between the original path AB and the modified ray AB1 is given by this sin alpha is V by V1 square root of 2, which gives alpha is almost nearly V by C root 2. So the length of this line AB1 turns out to be, using this cosine rule, turns out to be R root 2 into 1 minus alpha. So this length AB was R root 2 and this length AB1 will be slightly less than that, R root 2 into 1 minus alpha. Similarly, the vertical ray AD gets modified as ray AD2 due to velocity of the rotation V. The velocity along the line AD2 is given by V2, which is from the cosine rule we get V2 is nearly equal C minus V by root 2. And the modified ray will have an angle beta with respect to the original ray AD, such that sin beta is V by V2 square root of 2 and beta is nearly V by C root 2. So length AD2 using the cosine rule will become R square root of 2 into 1 plus alpha, which is slightly more than this side of the square, blue square. Since the velocity of rotation V is much less than the speed of light c, we get alpha and beta are nearly equal to each other and both are nearly equal to 0. And alpha equals V by C root 2. Both alpha and beta are V by C root 2. So the time taken along the length AB1 is given by TAB1, which is length AB1 divided by speed along AB1, which is the length along AB1 is R square root of 2 into 1 minus alpha, slightly less than this side AB. And it has a velocity higher than C, which is C plus V by root 2. So this overall turns out to be r root 2 into 1 minus 2 alpha by c. Similarly, the time along AD2, TAD2, will be r square root of 2 into 1 plus 2 alpha by c. Here there is minus and here there is plus. So this is the time taken along TAB1 is the time taken along AB1, and this is TAD2 is the time taken along this. They have different lengths and different speed. So the track 1 or the original ABCDA path under rotation becomes the path A, B1, C1, D1 and A1. It does not go back to A, but it meets the circle at A1. In this, A B1 equals B1 C1 equals C1 D1 equals D1 A1. All of these lengths are equals and they are equal to r square root of 2 into 1 minus alpha. And they have the velocity c plus v by root 2 along all these 4 lines. So the total time taken to go from A to A1 along this whole circuit T is TAA1 equals 4 times the time taken along AB1, which is just 4 times this 4r square root of 2 into 1 plus 2 alpha 1 minus 2 alpha by c. And in this rotated case, these are the coordinates of these different points A, B1, C1, D1 and A1. So the track 2 or the light which gets reflected from the beam splitter or the original track ADCBA under rotation becomes the path A, D2, C2, B2 and A2. So it does not reach A but reaches this point A2. And all these sides are again equal to each other and they are equal to r square root of 2 into 1 plus alpha. And the velocity along all these 4 lines remains v2, which is slightly less than c minus v by square root of 2. So the time taken along any of this path A, D2 is equal to r into square root of 2 1 plus 2 alpha by c. And the time taken to go the entire path from A along this circuit and back to to go to A2 is 4 times time taken along AD2, which is this expression 4r square root of 2 into 1 plus 2 alpha by c. And these are the coordinates of these 5 points here. So ultimately we find that the 2 paths finally coincide or converge at this point A1 or A2. These are basically both are the same points. And also this point C1 and C2 also coincide. These are the same points. These red and green paths both converge at the same point here and here. So the total time taken along the track 1 or this red path or which is the transmitted part through the beam splitter is this, as we noted earlier, 4r square root of 2 1 minus 2 alpha by c. And the total time taken along this green path or track 2 is this 4r square root of 2 into 1 plus 2 alpha by c. So here it is plus and here it's minus. So the phase difference between the 2 paths will be delta equals the time difference between these two and multiplied by the frequency of the light. So we get the difference between these two as this here 16 square root of 2 r omega alpha by c. Using alpha equals r omega by c root 2 where r omega is just v. We get this phase difference delta is 16 r square omega square by c square, which can also be written as 8 into area into omega square by c square. We do not really capture this phase difference 8 area omega square by c square here because these two rays don't reach the interference screen. They end up in a different place other than the interference screen is here, but the rays are converging here. And also the phase difference that we expect according to Sagnac's experiment is 4 into area omega square by c square, which is just half of what the phase difference that we calculated here. So in order to get both the track 1 and track 2 to converge on the interference screen, we need to consider a slightly modified track 1 or the transmitted ray as shown in these figures with angle alpha above line A beta. So this is AB and this is alpha, which should be, the new track should be above this line AB, as opposed to below the line AB in the previous case. So this was the previous case, old B1. So the light starting from source S was going towards old B1. Now we need to consider the new ray, which is SB1 here, above line AB. So basically we need to consider a ray like SX instead of ray SA. So this ray SX gets modified by the rotation velocity V here and produces a resultant SB1. If SA is nearly equal to 0, then SB1 will be almost same as ray AB1. When velocity of rotation V is much less than the speed of light c, the spread of the rays, that is this angle alpha plus gamma, this is gamma here, alpha plus gamma, that is the spread. This was the original ray direction that we were considering. This is a slightly different array with an angle alpha plus gamma. This alpha plus gamma can be so less when V is less than c that even laser beams may be having that much spread. So we cannot stop the spread even in the case of using laser beams. So the modified AB1 here will now have a length r square root 2 into 1 plus alpha instead of r square root 2 into 1 minus alpha as in the previous cases. And the velocity remains the same as in the previous case, c plus v by root 2. So the time taken along AB1 now will be r square root of 2 by c and not r square root of 2 into 1 minus 2 alpha by c. So the new track 1 is as shown by these red lines in this figure, and track 2 is as shown by the green lines here. The track 2 is unchanged from the previous case, only the track 1 is different. And this line D1Z, which is the last leg of the track 1, almost exactly intersects the beam splitter at the original point A, but now that point A has got rotated anti-clockwise by about 8 alpha radians. So we can call this new position of A as A prime, and it is located on the line OE prime, and it intersects the circle, this circular mirror system at A prime. Line B2A2 intersects the beam splitter at point Y, which is very close to the point A prime. From the previous analysis, we know B2A2 length is r square root 2 into 1 plus alpha. And using geometry, we can work out that this length YA2 is this much, 16 square root 2 into r alpha. So therefore, the length B2Y, after taking away YA2, will become this r square root 2 into 1 plus alpha minus this 16 square root 2 r alpha. So now with the modified track 1, the length AB1 is also r square root of 2 into 1 plus alpha instead of minus in the previous case, and which is the same as the length AD2 or AB2 AD2 in case of the green track or the track 2. So these two tracks have the same lengths now, but the speeds are different. So we get the total length of track 1, that is A, B1, C1, D1, and meeting this beam splitter at A prime. So this whole path will have 4 times the length AB1. So length AA prime, which is the total length of the track 1, is 4 square root 2 r into 1 plus alpha. And the total time taken is this AA prime divided by c into 1 plus alpha, which is the velocity along this track one. So the total time we get as just this 4 square root 2 r by c, which is just the same as the rest case along those blue lines that we saw in the initial slide. So if the this platform was not rotating, this will be the time taken by the light to go around this the square path as shown earlier. Since we consider only the length b2y in the last leg of the track 2 and not this whole length b2a2, so just b2y, so there is this much less length that we need to consider. So the total time taken along the path a, d2, c2, b2 and y coming to y will be this tay, which is the total time that we saw earlier, negating the part that will be taken, the time taken from y to a2. So this will be the time along the second track. So the difference between these two and the phase difference will be the difference in time between these two, which is 4 square root r by c, 4 square root of r by c, and this is the extra term 8 root 2 r alpha by c. So that will be reflected in this phase difference. So the phase difference will become 8 root 2 r omega alpha by c. So when we convert it into the in terms of area, where area will be 2r square, we just get the phase difference delta is 4 times area into omega square by c square, which is the same that we expect according to Sagnac's expression, 4 into area into omega square by c square. And we captured this interference pattern due to this 4a square omega square by c square, because both the rays fall very close to the same spot on the interference screen as it did in the non-rotating case, where they both converge around point Z shown here, where the interference screen is also located. Note here, this area is basically 2r square, because the side length of the square formed by the light paths in the non-rotating case is r root 2 that we saw earlier. In the non-rotating case, the blue lines that we saw, the paths, the square paths of the light, the side of each of those paths is r root 2 and the area of that square is 2r square. So that is what occurs here. So the total phase difference basically we find due to rotation will be 4 into area into omega square by c square, which is same that Sagnac found using his experiment. So this is what we see in the rest frame, these kinds of paths, the green and the red paths. So thus we see that the Sagnac effect can be easily explained by the corpuscular theory, just like we can explain Michelson's moving mirror experiment. Here the two rays forming the final interference pattern are not the two split beams emanating from the same beam falling on the beam splitter, but they are two slightly offset rays originating from the source at slightly different angles. The transmitted ray, or this red path, hits the beam splitter at some angle slightly less than 45 degrees, whereas this reflected ray, green path, hits the beam splitter at exactly 45 degrees. And from a rotating frame, this appears as a deviation from the expected path due to angular momentum conservation. We have not shown that here. This, what we have shown, is how we see from a rest frame. And this totally explains the observation made by Sagnac, that the phase difference should be 4 into area into omega square by c square. Thus, corpuscular theory can explain the Sagnac effect. So we stop there. Thank you. If you want to understand the concepts of physics in the clearest way, regardless of the concerns about scoring high marks in exams, please visit neophysics.com. Thank you.